One sec. Ready, doctor? Okay, I think okay, whenever you're ready. Should we start?
Yep.
Okay, go, Hanad. Good morning. My name is Nihal. I work with the US Embassy Public Affairs section, supporting our public engagement efforts, and I am pleased to be here this morning. I would like to thank everyone for joining us for this important discussion on mental health after isolation, recovering, healing, connecting post-pandemic panel discussion. Today's discussion is timely and important as we underscore the need to address healthcare and well-being from a mental health and wellness perspective. Each May, we raise awareness about the importance of mental health and its impact on the well-being of all, including children, adults, families, and communities all over the world. During the pandemic, mental health challenges among youth have been particularly acute due to disruptions in routines, increased social isolation, and learning loss. Some research has shown that social media can play a role in increasing mental health challenges among young people, especially young women. However, social media also presents an opportunity to destigmatize and broaden the discussion about this topic, amplify credible information, and guide people to support networks. Mental health supports groups, counseling, mental health treatment, and extracurricular activities are some tools we can use to support good mental health and well-being in our communities. Today, we recognize the dedicated mental health providers whose services and support improves the lives of so many people in the United States, Qatar, and around the world. We have an interesting discussion ahead, so I will introduce you to your moderator today. Thank you, Anahi, the moderator of our panel, and thanks to the speakers for joining. We have Dr. Sanabel, who is a psychiatrist. We have Nicole Alexander Jean, an applied behavior analyst, and we have Wasan Al-Tariktiki, a mental health advocate. We also would like to welcome those in audience. We hope you enjoy the fruitful conversation ahead. And I will now give the floor to Anahi to start the discussion.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. Well, I have to say that I think that if there's one thing that we all noticed throughout COVID and everything that happened around it, the isolation, the lockdown and everything, was that our life shifted, but our mind had a hard time keeping up. So many of us realized that the world that we had outside suddenly was not there, and that brought a bunch of challenges. So when Nihal and I started discussing about mental health, since this is the topic of the month of May, I wanted to go a little bit deeper about what is happening, and how can we just move forward, especially considering that so many young adults and children and teenagers have been struggling the most. The moments of their life where they want to be the more gregarious and connecting, they have been stuck in houses with little screens. So how has that affected us, and how can we move forward? So welcome again, Wasam, Nicole, and Dr. Sanabel to this discussion. I'm really excited to be here, and as most of my panels, I just want to have a conversation from your perspective. So I'm going to start just by asking you to say your name. I'm going to call you. What do you do in this world around mental health, and how was your experience with isolation? So just something super short so that everybody in the audience can know who we are. Let's start with Nicole. I'm just going alphabetically. So Nicole, can you please tell us a little bit about you?
Yes, hi. So my name is Nicole Alexander. I am from America, California to be exact. I've been in the field since 2007. I'm an applied behavior analysis, and I specialize in autism. And as of recent, I opened a activities center for special needs where we focus on social skills and vocational skills.
And how was the whole experience of isolation for you?
There were ups and downs. I think for me as an expat, I don't have any family here at all. So that was a bit hard versus like, I feel like if I were with my family, it would have been a bit easier. So it was a bit hard and I really had to push through, you know, these moments. There were, I didn't know that I could even be affected by depression like that. So many waves of emotions um, came about based on this, and I had to fight through all of those waves to stay balanced. For me, it's balance, and without balance, that's when we're off. And there were times where I was off based on just not being so isolated, right? We're really not isolated. You know, we have our phones, we have all these things, but we really had to sit still and be within ourselves um, and figure out what that looks like. Um, so, you know, I learned a lot about myself and I learned how to push through and to not let that win, those negative moments and experiences win. So, and I'm still learning. I think I'm still affected by that whole experience. But yeah, I think that that's overall what my experience has been so far.
Thank you so much for that. And thank you for the honesty. I feel like we were saying right before we started this, all of us come from a mental health background in terms of our professions, our careers, and still many times we forget that we can be, you know, we can be struggling too. That many of us decided to go into these fields precisely because we were struggling and we wanted to share solutions that we might have found. So I find that it's very refreshing when someone like you, Nikki, just opens up and be like, yeah, I struggled. It was really hard. I know that that's not the experience for everybody, but it's good that we open up because you can be an expert and struggle and
Right.
need more tools, you know?
Therapists need therapists. Everyone needs help. It's a cycle. So
100%.
it's a pyramid,
100%.
if anything.
Exactly, completely. Dr. Sanabel, can we know a little bit about your background and your experience with isolation?
Hey, hi, good morning. My name is Dr. Sanabel. I graduated from Weill Cornell Medical College in Qatar in 2012, and then I had finished my specialization in HMC. I am currently working, I founded my own center, which is called the Sanabel Specialized Psychiatric Center in Qatar, and that's kind of the first specialized psychiatric center in Qatar. We actually opened the center in July 2020, which was kind of in the middle of Corona. It was a risk. We knew it's going to be a risk because you know how Corona didn't even affect it. It didn't even only affected like individuals, but it like huge countries, their economy got affected by the Corona pandemic. But we took the risk, and I said to myself, if that pandemic is going to affect any aspect of medicine, it's going to be mental health, basically, because people I could see people going down. I started to hear about businessmen committed suicide or getting depressed or anything, or a lot of other things, kids, for example, families, for example, or neighbors, you know, from very close family, they're saying, oh my God, I think my child has autism, while the child, for example, a lot of kids, they ended up not having autism, but because there's a whole lot of generation that were born during that period, so they have no idea about what kind of what social what is social communication looks like outside the house. So they spent a lot of time on media, whether iPads, TV, those kind of things, and this is in their sensitive age, so definitely affected their the development and stuff. So we're like, yeah, we're gonna open it. Let's go ahead, and we did. And you have no idea how much we felt people really needed it. Of course, when we opened it, it was all through Zoom interface or like phone calls or stuff like that. But it was, I think it was a very good move.
So basically, you were one of the people that were the busiest during Corona isolation and lockdown.
Kind of, yeah, and unintentionally, but yeah, that what happened. That what happened. I also, to be honest, try to put some videos on my YouTube channel to just keep people optimistic, because a lot of people, they thought this is the end of the world, and we don't know what happened. Some people, they started, stuffing food inside the house and getting very panicking and terrified. Personally, as a psychiatrist, what I found the difference in those 2 years, that whoever was underestimating mental health, now they know that this is a very, very, very important aspect of our health, that we have to acknowledge it, whether we like it or not. It did, Corona, to be honest, although it affected negatively the whole world, but to be honest, for mental health, I think it was a positive thing, because it pushed mental health up to the sky. People started to feel more comfortable approaching us as a professional health caretakers, whether we doctors or therapists or all kind of professionals that are specialized in mental health. So it kind of helped a lot in decreasing the stigma around that issue. And whoever also had an issue like OCD, panic attacks, those kind of things, which were kind of under control before the pandemic, they went out of control during the pandemic. And that was a big issue.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I think many people that felt safe before suddenly didn't feel so safe. Like Nikki said, we were spending all this time alone, and unfortunately, sometimes the most toxic place for us to exist in is our heads. So I feel that many people got very triggered. I'm glad that you managed to create this center and actually offer a possibility, because I have a lot of clients that were actually telling me, I think I'm going crazy. And we were trying to find people online, because also a lot of people didn't feel comfortable talking about their problems online, right? So at the beginning, it was an education curve. It's like, you can see a therapist online, you're gonna be fine, you're gonna be fine.
Yeah, exactly.
So whilst now, I mean, I know a lot of people that have therapies that are across the world, and they see them on apps and everything. So I agree. If there's one thing that we got, was the talk about mental health become more normalized, and then the tools, which is alhamdulillah.
Right, alhamdulillah.
Wassan, we are with you. You're the W.
Good morning, everyone. Okay, so I'm Wassan Al-Tikriti. Just for my, no one knows how to pronounce my name properly, so I'll just clarify. I was a mother of two, in the pandemic. That was mainly my role. I was also, I'm working in education. So I was, at the same time as schooling them, I was, on Zoom sessions trying to figure out how to communicate with other children. And I was working at the time at a school which is open style, kind of free learning, no use of technology. We kind of don't really rely on technology, no structured sessions, no curriculum. So to kind of maintain that free learning, the freedom the child wants and yearns for online was, oh my gosh, such a struggle. At the same time, I work with teenagers. Usually we meet face-to-face. We have face-to-face sessions. So like when everything went online, some people who were so against technology and, like you said, seeking therapy online, even, many therapists before the pandemic would never offer anything online. They think you're like absurd suggestion. But what's positive, in my opinion, is that everybody's kind of expanded their horizons and started exploring new ways. So now you can access the best of care you know, it's not ideal, it's not face to face, but you can still access the best individuals, whether it's trainers, people started training online. It was just crazy, you know, just anything to keep everyone going. You know, as a mother to two young children, and someone who really kind of kept in touch with the teens, I feel that it really impacted them. I mean, we're talking about now that we see people graduating. I feel really sad for those who are grieving their graduations. You know, the past, was it 2 years or 3? I don't know how many, you know, cycles, but
I think you graduate 2 classes, like 2 promotions.
Okay, fine. See, I didn't know that, but I was really feeling like, oh my goodness, you know. And I remember speaking to a friend who's a mom of 2 of her daughters graduated, and she said, I don't even have a photo of them in a robe, and they just refuse now. They're just like, Mom, it's over, like, you know. And I just felt like, you know, it wasn't just the adult children who are missing out on whole milestones, you know, but actually the parents themselves being there and being present. So I think a lot of families went through a lot of difficulty. You know, the normal send off my child to university. I've got friends that, you know, were in a situation where they sent their kids to the UK and they were just at home doing online sessions. So in the accommodation, student accommodation. So I think a lot of us went through so much. Personally, I loved having, you know, my best friend was my neighbor. So we just kind of really managed together. We just huddled up and we were constantly together. So for me, it was really lovely to get really quality family time, but not everyone had that experience.
I think that's something that it was a major trigger for many of us, for many people actually in the world. I had clients that were thriving because their works were very demanding. They didn't need to go to work, so they didn't have that. Obviously, our sleep got a little bit better for those of us who work outside, because suddenly we don't have to put on our faces and do our heads. So it's like you have that allowance, and then others, but then also obviously for me, I'm also a mom of 2, and for me it was like the drain of being 24/7 with somebody that I love and adore and I created, however, drains me. And then for those people that were actually alone, that didn't have a family nearby, or they were not in partnership or in couplehood, then alone 24/7, right? So let's start the conversation from that spot, right? Putting ourselves back 18 months ago or 2 years ago. What are some of the psychological reactions that you saw, and that Dr. Sanabel already discussed a little bit? What are some of those things that you have seen with your patients and clients, and even with those that around you, that COVID basically pushed up? Anyone can start.
Well, for me, oh, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I'll go afterward.
Well, just for me, like with my clients, you know, I mean, on a personal level, I think that it was an opportunity to kind of figure out what is happening, how do I address this, and still help others, because essentially my job is pouring in. I have to pour into these children and adults and their parents. But if I am not okay, how can I do my job? And then to see the clients, like some of them did progress, right? These are uncomfortable environments and situations that all of us are in. And, you know, we no longer are in control of the narrative. So a lot of my clients, you know, did digress in certain areas, but then they did, you know, grow in other areas. So it wasn't as negative as we would like to say. There were a lot of good and bad moments. And, you know, in those moments where we're losing skills, right? There were some skills that were being lost, especially when it comes to, you know, a school setting. We are no longer in school, you know, and my kids need, you know, this reputation, the scheduling, the structure. So we had to reprogram, you know, their experience on a daily basis while still trying to educate. That part was very challenging. And it was almost like, you know, when I start with a new client, we do a lot of probing and testing out. And it was almost like with every client that I had, we had to reprobe, we had to start over and create a new foundation for this new environment. Because in our minds, we thought it would be a 2-week thing that then turned into a 2-year thing. And even now, we're still slowly getting back into normalcy. So I think that, yes, we did see a lot of, skills that were lost in certain areas, but then we were able to focus on a lot of independency, self-help skills inside of the house. And, just, there were so many other things that we were able to tackle. But starting over was something that I saw myself going through with all my clients, always starting over. And no day was the same, right? Because the structure is always different versus like in school, the kids know at 7 o'clock and then 8 o'clock, like they have the schedule, they have the visuals, they have their peers. And that wasn't offered, in this environment, but we made it work. I think we made it work.
You sure did. You sure did. Dr. Sandoval, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say that 3 things, the most things that I noticed or we were like being challenged with. If the first thing which I mentioned, that the people who already had issues, they started to get relapses or get worse, or we need to, for example, upgrade the doses to put things under control more. Now, a lot of also mental disorders or psychiatric disorders, they have a lot and connected directly with the family dynamics. Now, when, for example, a lot of families, they were trapped together 5 or I don't know, 5 less or more in one house. And that was not the routine or the life structure that they got used to. So that relapsed some and that helped some.
Others. Yeah, I agree.
That was one of the challenges that we were facing, because people, they were like, I didn't know that I heard that sentence thousands of times during the pandemic, because people were really discovering, they were discovering themselves. They were a lot of families actually, they also realized what they were doing wrong. For example, if we're talking about parenting styles, how parents are dealing with their kids, adolescents, how close they were with their kids. Now that's the one thing. So the relapses, a lot of mental disorders were getting worse during this time. The second thing is what I noticed is the mothers. Oh my God, I cannot sympathize with them enough, because I'm a mother of 2 myself. My kids are very little. We are a family who the 3 of us, actually the 4 of us, we need a very well structured routine so we can get life going on. Now the pandemic, when it came, it broke our structure and it broke millions of families' structures, and that definitely that destruction that happened in the house structure made the mom's life so difficult. So difficult. Actually, a lot of moms who never had any issues previously, they went into depression because of that, because she basically did not have like a 1 hour for herself. It was like a continuous, roller coaster. The morning she's working, whether on Zoom or online, she has also the household issues. She has the kids around her. After that, she has to teach them. She has to make them to make sure that they're sitting in front of the computers for the classes. A lot of the young kids, you can't really hold them for that, because that was something new for them. Up to 5 years old, this is an extremely difficult mission.
Yeah.
To put them
well,
yeah.
I can tell you that I loved it and I hated it equally. I loved it because I didn't know. Obviously, I'm a working mom, and my kids learning in English, I learning in Spanish. So the many times I just don't even know what's going on. I don't care either. Like, I'm very open about it. I outsource their education for a reason. It's because I am not. And I remember suddenly having to teach my son how to read in a language that is not my mother tongue, that I don't know how to teach him, because I just don't have tools. I don't have vocabulary. He will ask me something and I'm like, makes no sense to me either. I'm sorry, So that was one. But then at the same time, I love the fact that I could see his growth. Like, suddenly I'm like, last week you could not write that word to save your life, and this week you can write it and you're so proud of. I cry so much out of pride as I did out of desperation.
Yep.
It was
Yep.
equal.
Yeah, yeah.
It was
And
equal.
a lot of like poor mothers, for example, I like a lot of them also who are doctors, for example, this is not, they could not do it online, so they had to leave the kids home, they have to go to work, they still have like they have, you know, on calls and stuff like that. At that time also, if you remember, in Qatar we had a big issue with helpers, or like for example nannies and stuff like that. So doctors were really pulling their hair out. So they're like, what do we do? We're like
Yeah.
leaving the kids for 12 hours or more at home alone, or either with the dad alone, or whoever had a maid, they're like the kids alone there, you know, for the whole day. So a lot of fears, a lot of
Guilt, a
you know,
lot of guilt.
a lot of guilt feelings. Until now, there are actually some of my clients, they're still having difficulty in dealing with this, because after this pandemic we're done with it, alhamdulillah, I hope. But inshallah, there's still you know, that we're still fixing some of the issues that happened in houses. Now the third thing that I figured out, marital issues. Oh my God.
Yes.
Oh my God.
I think that this shone a light on whatever was wrong in couple dynamics. So some couples became super strong. Like I had a client who one day called me and I felt that it was an emergency, and I'm like, are you okay? And she's like, my husband is so cool. I did not know that he was so cool, because they were so busy and they.
Yes.
He's frozen.
I think, yeah, we
I
got
think she
frozen.
froze. I think she froze. No, but
Yeah.
I completely agree on this point. Like for me personally, like I just wanted life to slow down so that we could actually spend time together. And now you froze. Finish.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, she's back.
I'm back.
It's on and off.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
But yeah,
we just wanted to spend time together. So personally, like as annoying as it was really beneficial, because I felt like, you know, we'd always have to carve out time in our life to just sit in the same space. Like
right.
everyone had their own thing going on, and for once we were forced, and it was really tough. But I feel like I think a lot of people had to really explore their resilience to adapting to different situations and being
True.
okay with the unknown. Like a lot of us who have their faith to rely on, or have whatever tools you use, you know, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And to many people, that is really unsettling. That was really anxiety provoking.
Right.
So it really meant that we had to be okay with not knowing. And I think, and not knowing what happens from day to day. And I remember there was a point where my mom fell ill and I had to go to the UK. And I do not like, that flight was something out of some kind of sci-fi movie. Like The Shield. This was right at the beginning when no one was really traveling. There was only a few people. You'd have, you know, the best thing was that you have so much space. Everybody had to have protective covers. I don't know how many masks. Yeah. I took a photo and it looks like something surreal. Like, and it was just so anxiety provoking. So many people were so scared to, you know, just eat on the flight. And then when you go into isolation after quarantine, after I came back, that's another issue of being alone in a room. I was thinking, if I had mental health issues right now, the windows not opening because it was a tall tower and I was right at the top for 7 days, for some it was 14, you know, how, like, there was some points in time I remember sitting down on the floor and thinking, okay, you got to calm down, you can breathe, like literally I was talking to myself, and I consider myself pretty okay. Like, but for those who have like really high anxiety, depression, like how would they manage in such a situation? I was just thinking to myself. So yeah,
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
tough.
Now,
100%. Like,
yeah,
no, I was gonna say that I know a lot of people that had to go through quarantine, like proper isolation quarantine.
Mhm.
None of them came out of it without a scar. Like, I had that from the US, and they were in little tiny hotel rooms, you know,
true. Yeah,
and
yeah.
they just
I think the internet is
yeah, I'm here, I'm here. It's just the connection is not the best, right?
Yep. Now,
So
I think also one more thing is that going back to the marital issues, a lot of families, they have actually they discover themselves. So whoever had a very good spouse, that they didn't realize how supportive they are, because some people they will be supportive in emergencies, like, otherwise they're like busy most of the time or something. But a lot of families, they actually discovered the dark side of the spouses. And I won't be lying, to be honest, we faced a lot of divorce situations and divorce cases. And because, yeah, even the interaction, for example, if I have like a narcissistic husband, or like a woman who is, for example, she's been in that marriage for long years, and she's been sustaining it because she has her own life outside, and life is busy. Once they were put all together in one house or one room for a good amount of time, there is no way, except that the real personalities and the real behaviors and the real habits are going to come out. And so a lot of families, unfortunately, they were separated because of that. It's like, what, the same problem when we get it when when the husband gets retired, and then the woman comes and starts to complain of it. Exactly, this is something very similar but
You know,
more dangerous, something like that.
I feel like it's unfortunate, but also fortunate. Like, I feel like in so many ways we were able to finally just slow down, be in the moment, and realize, is this good for me? Is this bad for me? Like, even like we discovered sitting with ourselves. Like, we never, when you're not still, so many of us are just occupying and distracting and constantly on the move, to just distract ourselves from what is really happening within ourselves. And when you have to be with yourself, and you have to be with those around you, I don't know if we were the best version of ourselves when we were so triggered left, right, and center by our
I
husbands and
wasn't, to be
children. And
honest.
I don't really know if I was the best version.
But the thing is that the best version of ourselves has to be an honest version of ourselves, right? We cannot show up as the
Right.
best when we are putting a facade. And many of us, because of work and whatever, had a facade. And suddenly COVID was like, well, that beautiful mask that you put on every day, well, you don't have it.
Exactly.
And good
Yeah.
luck.
Very true. Very true. Yep.
Mhm.
Very true.
Okay, now talking a little bit about the other parts. We talk about online, we talk about social aspects, we talk about family aspects. How about study-wise? And I know I wanna focus this is for all of you, because you all deal with education in a different way. Nicole, you do the occupational therapy for children and young adults in the spectrum. Wasan, you were working in a school, but also you deal a lot with teenagers and all that social element. And Dr. Sanabel, I'm pretty sure that you also face that. So how did education and learning was affected? So how was then? And we can go very, very just short there. And then how do you see it still present today?
Who wants to go first? Okay.
I don't mind. I think it was good and bad, right? Like there's good that we can take from the situation, and there's bad. And what just keeps playing in my head and just the whole experience is literally everything was wiped out. We had to start over. And I feel like teachers had to find a way to be creative to educate, because essentially the goal is to educate and, teaching new skills for, these kids and clients to master and learn. And how can you do that in this environment? So I think that was a bit of a challenge. It was very challenging to do so, especially as a therapist. I'm an applied behavior analysis. I specialize in behavior. So I'm not necessarily teaching, academics to that extent. We're working on eye contact and pointing and things of that nature. Well, how do I do that, via virtually? So I think that we had to really come up with creative ways to do so. And I do think that has affected the children and the educators, but at the same time, we still had to do it right. And so I think that some people, and here's the thing, people, children, adults, anyone learn differently. So maybe while online may have been so beneficial for, one student, what may not have been beneficial for others. So I think there's pros and cons, because we did see some kids and students that soared because, for whatever reason, they just soared through this process versus others not. But I just think that that's just how people learn. And then the second question, I want to make sure I answer the second question. What's the second point?
It was more about how the effects today and like moving forward, because we don't want to focus only on what happened. We know what happened. Right. It was really tough for everybody, but okay, right. So how are we today
so
with that?
Forward, I think that once again, we're still revamping education. For me, like going into the schools and seeing just how the teachers have maneuvered through this, there are a lot of like cool things that the teachers found, like from online applications and things of that nature. We're now, we're taking away that application and now implementing it in school. So there were cool applications like IXL. These are things that I did. I'm not a teacher, but ReadWorks and all these different programs that it's actually innovative. Like, this is a new way to educate, and let's learn it. Let's try to be as positive as possible and see how, now that we're back into normal society where kids are back in school, now how can we bridge that gap? How can we make this work? And so I think that the educators have done an amazing job on finding that balance and bridging the gap. And I think that the children have done such an amazing job with dealing. Obviously, education for me was different. There was no iPads or anything like that. But, these kids are still finding a way to adapt. Everyone has adapted. And I think that that's the one thing that we can say. And it's still not easy, and we're still trying to figure it out. But I think we've done the best that we can, to be honest.
I agree.
I think Anahi, if you allow me, basically, there were points where I, as a mom, I as a mom had to say, right, enough's enough. You're getting off this laptop, even if your teacher tells you that you have to do this or that, because I would see my daughter crying with migraines, like the amount of pressure, just my daughter gets headaches, and looking at these screens from, you're talking 7 a.m. the minute they get out of bed. Actually, we pull them out of bed, put them straight in front of a screen, and then they're going for hours and hours and hours. And like, it was so painful to watch at times. A lot of days I just thought, what is this? What is this? Especially that I was in the school, like I explained, is actually a freestyle where children are, really kind of exploring their skills, their life skills, no set curriculum, no kind of, so it was really hard to then bring them to kind of a virtual setting when they're so used to being, this is my work. But for my girls who are in British schools, I felt that they had such a structure that was useful to some children, but it was just so, like, there were moments I was like, no, that's it. I'm going to speak to the teacher and that's it. You're not doing any more today. Like, I, as a mom, had to step in and really prioritize here my child's mental health versus, okay, they're learning, they're going to learn. Like, I think a lot of us as parents, educators, we started to think, okay, maybe these systems are actually need, you know, like you said, revamping, reinventing. So many summits and so many education and, you know, questions were coming up. Are we, you know, do we need to reinvent ourselves as schools, as educators? So I think the pandemic has had a profound impact on how we and as parents, we were forced to be involved. You know, we had to be involved. We had to see what was going on and what our child was learning. You know, we caught things that were coming through that were like, what is this? And why is this relevant? And why is my child doing this? And I guess that's a positive thing. I think we had to be more involved.
Yeah.
I think that what you said about I'm sorry, go Nikki.
No, I just love hearing this from a parent's perspective, because I know I don't have children yet, but you know, I've been in the field. And so for me, I'm always saying, gosh, these parents, I need them to get more involved. Like, I understand that you guys are busy. I get it, but it takes a village, and the more that we're on the same team and we have the same goals, and we as educators and specialists, we can tell when you're not doing what you should be doing, because we would see certain skills being mastered faster. So I love to hear that you realize that actually I can be involved. It's not just up to the teacher. You have a say, and you can say, you know what, no, this is too much. And I love that you were able, a lot of parents were able to tap into, hey, I'm paying for this child's education. This is my child. I have a say. And I'm going to be a part of this process instead of just supporting the process. You know what I mean? So I really enjoy that. And you're not the only parent that, you know, had these thoughts, and we need you as parents to continue to do that and empower us as educators and specialists. Like, we are a team. That is the only way that we will be able to, you know, accomplish these goals. So that's my 2 cents. Sorry.
Dr. Sanabel, you wanted to say something.
Sorry, I
Yeah,
totally
yeah.
agree I totally agree with Wasim as a mother, because I passed through this and I was like, you know, this is too much. And to be honest, what I noticed as a psychiatrist, because a lot of what I get from the cases is that parents would come to me and they will say that the level of my child in school is getting very bad, and they want to check, for example, if there is something behind it. And then when we talk about it, and what I realized later on is that in COVID in general, I don't agree with the online learning. I know it has some positivity, but it's not, and it's not even close to when kids go to school. And I could see the difference on my own kids, not only on other people's kids or clients' kids, but I can see it on my own kids. The level of their education and the level they figure in, when they come back to schools, they know what they took. They just took the work, they just take the worksheet and they just solve it on their own. I don't have to explain it to them. But when they were online, for example, I had to go with them over the PowerPoint or their slides all over again, because whatever, it's good. It was good. It was like the best way I think we could find at that point to deal with the situation that we had during the pandemic. But is it something that we should go on with? No. Is it something that we should take it as the main way of education? No. Right? So yes, exactly. But what I would advise parents now is to take that easy. Do not judge your child based on what was happening in the past 2 years. It was a messed up situation. A lot of kids, they were lost. It is very good for them, and we should actually give them a credit, and we clap for them for the fact that they were they sustained it. They were there. They were able to go through all these 2 difficult years.
They survived.
Yes, a child is a bundle of joy, and learning for them is, it comes through playing, comes through social life, comes through looking at their teacher face, a lot of things. It's not a screen thingy. So just take it easy on yourselves. Don't judge your children, don't blame yourselves. It's a situation where we all did our best the way we could do it. Now, hopefully, we will be able to, manage it and compensate for whatever happened. Children in general, be sure of your child, believe in him or her. Children are very lenient and very easy to affect and compensate. It's not like a high school young man or a young lady who had lost that year and they messed it up. School, even that one, it can be compensated. Even that one, it can be compensated. Education in general, it's a continuous process. Nothing is the end of the world. As long as you have your brain healthy and well, you can do anything. You can compensate for it. Just encourage them. Please don't scold them or keep approaching that issue with a very negative behavior, because children, the software that is uploaded on their mind, it does not work by negative work or by criticism. It does not do that. What you're doing now only is that you're destroying, or you're kind of shaping, let me use kind words, shaping the personality of your child in a negative way. Use encouragement. Show them how much you believe in them. They will do whatever they can, so you can keep that, they can keep that picture inside your eyes. And
I
also
completely agree with you. I think that that's one thing is to recognize that we all did our best. Like we wanted to, we did our best in a situation that there has no precedent. This is an unprecedented situation, and we survived. And our children, spouses, and our friends, and our teenagers, they all did through horrendous circumstances. So I do agree with you. And also something that we were discussing before is like noticing where your child might be falling behind and then meeting them there lovingly. Like my son, for example, my eldest, his dad is dyslexic and he struggles a lot with math. And it took 2 years to be diagnosed because obviously we didn't know. So now it's a matter of bringing it in without the shame, bringing it in with the softness, a lot of softness. So giving all of us, we lost 2 years, up as a collective almost.
I'm sorry, I think I missed what you said. Did you say he had ADD or
No, their dad is dyslexic. In his family, yeah. So my son struggles with, is struggling now. He's in grade 3, he's going to grade 4, and his teacher this year, she said, I'm seeing a lot of children that in the formative, those first grades, didn't get the support with math that they needed. And obviously reading is different because I read them, but when it comes to math, we don't do math in the house, that much. So it's meeting him, not from a, well, you lost it, so catch up, because it's to say, okay, how are we going to come together and get you to where you need to be, where you want to be? And I think that has been a shift because I saw how much he tried. If the teacher had sent me a note saying your child is falling behind and I have no idea what he's doing, I would be like, the hell, you need to get your, you need to get it together. But because I saw his progress, and this is what many of us saw, we saw them. We had a window to their education like never before. And so now it's about saying, okay, we are struggling. Let's just do this together. And I think that happened for marriages too, where you might have seen your spouse at the end of the day grumpy, and you'll be like, well, you're always so grumpy. But now that you see their day, you see the conversation they have with their colleagues or with their bosses, you see it, you're like, wow, I can bring all my compassion because your life is hard. And you can live next to someone and not know their world, right? So while now worlds were colliding.
Yes, very true. And I always tell parents that, sorry. I talk too much. I'm going to wait my
Please, no, please carry on. Please.
I was saying, wasn't that I always tell the parents, focus on the effort that the child does. As long as your child is putting an effort, he's going to reach it. It's just that some children, they might reach it when they're grade 1, some they're grade 3, some they're grade 6. And I've seen that change. Like a child who's been having, for example, not too good grades for like the past 7 years. So he's now grade 8. And I don't know what happened between, for example, the relationship between him or her and one of the parents has changed and has improved significantly. And so is the grades. The grades started to improve as well. So I always tell the parents, you are their mirrors. You are their mirrors. Talk to your child the way you would your manager talk to you, your colleague talk to you. And if you do that, if that connection between you and your child is there, he's gonna get there. Don't worry. You just have to accept him and love him the way he is. Because not all of us will become doctors, not all of us will become engineers, and the world does not need all people to become doctors and engineers. It's going to be too boring. A lot of things are not going to happen, right? We need people. We need, if my child is very good and talented in education, then he's going to excel in being a teacher. If he is, if he is, if I give him the idea that I'm proud of you, if I give him the idea that I'm behind you, if he wants to be, I don't know, very, let's say an artist, he wants to draw, right? Like we know this in the real market, it might be like very low pay or something, but encourage him in the talent he has, and channel it in a way that he could still, make his future with that.
Wassam, I want you to do this, and then I'm gonna open up the floor for the questions. We'll have some questions coming in, so just so you know that.
Yeah, perfect. I wanted to say that if we learn anything from the pandemic, it's that life slowed down, and we need to slow down so much. Like we need to take it easy, especially those of us with younger children. Actually, even, I mean, the teens were under so much pressure because they had exams, they had, during adolescence, you have to meet so many requirements and, entries into this school or this uni. And so the pressure of being, without your support system, which at this age is your friends, right? And their world becoming just through their screens, addiction to their phones, the technology, cyberbullying, all of these issues really, really, really kind of happened, and sometimes behind closed doors. So I think teenagers really went through a lot of struggles. Sometimes parents didn't understand, and parents were struggling on how to communicate. But, just slowing down, if we've learned anything, I feel like when life picked up again, we were expected to go back with speed and start compensating for that time that was lost. And that isn't how we should really go back to life. If we learn anything, we should just embrace that kind of, take the time we need, give my child or, my adult children the time that they need, and really be compassionate,
I absolutely love that. And I agree. I think that has been a lesson that many of us got, is that slow down, don't do it all at once. What's in the present. Now we have a question. It's where can people get help here in Qatar discreetly? And I think that Dr. Sanabel and Nicole, you guys have the tools. Maybe we should hook up your pages, but can you talk a little bit about that option from your side? Dr. Sanabel, you're from the psychiatrical, and Nikki from the Life Skills Hub.
So from if you're looking for help regarding, like, you want to see a doctor or a psychiatrist or like a clinical therapist for we have in Qatar, we have two options. You either go to the governmental section or you go to the private section. So the private section, I'm going to talk about my center, which is you can either call us at the 700-833-700, or you go to the website. You can also, a lot of the current centers now, they are integrating psychiatry services there. Like I know Nassim Rabi, I think has, Tadawi has,
Al Ahli has a lot of other centers there. We in our center we basically have all the services. We treat all ages. We have doctors from different like males and females. We have from different backgrounds, and we have clinical therapists, and we have speech therapists as well, and we have behaviorists. In the governmental section, you have to go to your healthcare center, and the healthcare center you should go is wherever you live.
We lost you, Dr. Sanabel. So you were saying about the health center. Let's give Dr. Sanabel a couple of minutes. Nikki, you want to start talking a little bit about your side?
Yeah, so, you know, we specialize in special needs. So what we've figured out is that there has been a lack in social skills has always been an issue for our kiddos, right? But it digressed tremendously based on just not having enough access. These children barely had the access before, you know, the pandemic, and then imagine now. So what we have put together is just socially, you know, we're putting together different activities around Doha where all type of children, including special needs, can come and, you know, be social. Let's figure out how to be social again, because we've lost 2 years of being social, essentially, with our kiddos from ages young to older. And so we focus on, you know, being social and certain tasks, you know, from making eye contact, initiating greetings, to just being, showing empathy, you know, because we're mixing two different groups, right? And sometimes they are separated a lot. And so our goal is to showcase what inclusion looks like. You know, we talk about it, but I think that we don't, a lot of times we're not sure what it looks like because it's not shown as much as we would like for it to be. So our goal is to model that behavior and showcase it's okay to have children, to these children and adults together. And if you guys won't do it, we will. And so, you know, we are going into the community, and that's based on social. But as far as vocational skills, you know, once again, you know, these kids turn into adults. What happens? What are we doing to help, you know, progress with them in life? And so we would like to work on, you know, getting these children, kids, adults, jobs in the community, and learning certain skills and being able to make a career out of that, right? Like some kids may not want to go to college. Some of our kids, that's not even an option for them. So let's give them realistic options. So that's what we've been able to do. And I think that, you know, in regards to the pandemic, we lost a lot of social skills. Even typically developing adults and children, we lost a lot of social skills. So social skills play a huge role because that's tackling so many things, communicating, you know, comprehending. And so I think that we have found a niche that we would like to tackle and work on, while other clinics like CDC and, you know, Mind Institute and things of that nature, while they work on those things, we want to work on, you know, this small sector when it comes to life. So
brilliant. We're gonna ask you at the end your information, just so that we can make sure that people can tag you, follow you. We have another question. How to stay mentally focused on your targets, whether that's study or career, whatever, through COVID and through everything that is going on in the world. Tips and ideas.
okay, I mean, for me, I'm a visual person. It just depends on how you are, what type of person you are. And for me, I had to dig a bit deeper, especially with COVID. So I'm a visual person, and I have to start my day off on a balanced, right? So instead of waking up and going to the phone and things in that nature, I had to calm it down. As you said, slow down. Why are we moving so fast? So I would calm down, you know, do my morning meditations and things of that nature to program, okay, now what are the next steps in the day? How are we going to get through the next day? Instead of trying to figure it out all at one time, let's do it hour by hour, second by second. For me, as I said, I'm a visual person. So I have my to-do list. I have visuals all around the house, especially staying positive. That is not easy. It's so not easy, especially if one thing goes wrong in your day, you're like, all right, at least for me. I'm like, okay, I'm done. But reminding yourself how worthy you are, affirmations of faith, like really you have to intentionally stay there and intentionally do these things to not to go negative. What is going to keep me positive? At least that's what has worked for me.
Wasam, how about you?
So in terms of mental focus, I think definitely having, Nicole spoke about the social aspect, getting that social dose, forcing yourself, it can be really easy to sink into or be comfortable with just being alone or being isolated or continuing our virtual world interaction through just technology. And we got used to it, and we don't want to step out and get ready and go out and have to face people. And I don't know if you guys remember the first conversations you had face to face with someone. I had the most awkward conversations ever. And like, you're talking about meeting people with a mask on, then putting it down, then putting it up, and then the mask comes off. And like every stage had a layer of like you're peeling an onion. Like it was so weird.
Do I handshake? Do I agree. I don't know how to greet anymore. So,
and some people are still anxious about hugging or kissing or shaking hands. They're still anxious.
I mean, we were doing elbow bumps. Remember elbow bumps?
All types of things. Like, what is?
And you're
this?
like, what do we do here? Oh my God,
it's
funny.
so
the social
awkward.
cues, like even looking people in the face, just the smile. And we're always like, you feel tense, you like shopping, oh my goodness. So I feel like mental focus, I don't say this will allow for mental focus, but it will just help us mentally to really see, to get used to going out with friends again, to actually see people you want to spend time with, that really show you compassion and hold space for us, and and practice those social skills again. And so I think that for me will really help all of us to kind of move on.
I wanna ask you something. Like, what we talk about the struggles now. What positive habits you picked up and have maintained? Like, for example, for me, I was always a meditator, but then I became like fearful. I was like, I meditate all the time, is what I do. The same thing with workout. I always work out, but now it was like, this is my moment, because it was the only time that I could just focus on me. So what are the habits that not only allow you to go through this, but that you are still using today when we still have a really real world among us?
Well, for me, I would say I agree 100%. Meditation has changed my life. Like, for sure, it has changed my life. That is, if you don't start your day off in the right mindset, that like literally could ruin a lot of things and opportunities. As you said, we're already having these hard times socially interacting, and imagine if you're not in the right mindset. So meditating for me, self-care is important. As I said, for my job, I pour into my clients, my kids, anyone. So if I am not right, how can I pour in? How can I be a blessing if I've not blessed myself? You know what I mean? So meditating, working out, whatever I need to do to keep this mindset clear so I can do my job effectively, I'm willing to do. And so those things have worked for me for sure. And one thing that has really helped is we can be triggered a lot. I think that for me, with this pandemic, so many things I've learned that I am not as well as I thought I was, right? There are so many things I've learned about myself. And I was able to see a lot of the things that triggered me and to recognize that. And so now that I'm back into the real world again. When I feel those things that trigger me, I know how to handle them a bit different because I've had time to really work on that alone by myself. So I know how to not go into that spiral, because I will go into a spiral. No one is perfect. And your mind is your worst enemy at times. And so I would just get a thought and it would just go deeper and deeper and deeper. In the past. And so I've learned to find, what are your triggers? How do you handle those triggers? How do we not, how do we get out of this? Get out, And so for me as a therapist, I'm always taking data. So I caught myself taking data. How many times are you triggered? And how long did that last? So is it decreasing or increasing? Like, what is going on with you, And so I've been able to do a little bit of therapy on my own, a little ABA on myself, to figure out, like, I don't want to be triggered all day. And, I don't want to be on edge, and I want to be balanced all the time. So whatever I need to do to stay in that error, I'm willing to do. So if I have to stop and pray, or if I have to stop and take a break, I will do that. And in the past, I would just keep going because I have a job and everyone, there's so many hats, a model and this and that. It's like, no, calm down. Actually, so yeah.
I love that so much. Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Wassan and Dr. Sanabel, what have been
so for me, I think so for me, I think definitely positive self-talk. I think I realized I needed to talk myself through and break down situations. Like I was literally building a relationship with myself, where, how you speak to a child and say, it's going to be okay, it's going to be fine. I literally had to, start talking to myself in the mirror and just saying, it's going to be okay. You're going to be fine. We're going to get through this. And, in a more compassionate way. And I think I've carried this on, after the pandemic, is that we're a team, we're stuck together. We have to be a team. So, speak compassionately to yourself and journal. I think through the pandemic, the only way I could do it is mind dump and journal and get, that energy out on paper or however, and I think journaling has been really helpful. I continue that practice. So
I love that. And it's so cleansing also. It's so good for processing and cleansing. Dr. Sanabel, what are the or did you pandemic, and even today you have the same?
I personally was doing like Wassan. Journaling was a very good option for me. I was doing that. Even now, by the way, when I get tired or I feel like, oh, my life is so tiring, I want to change it, blah, 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 all of these things, kind of the questions that may that comes to your mind. I go back and I read the journals that I wrote during the pandemic. And you have no idea how much it pushes me, because that was one of the very difficult, probably the most difficult times that passed on me during my life. And that was like a great push for me. I always advise everybody to journal, even if it's like bullet points. At the end of the day, do not sleep without writing like a 3 blessings or like a 3 good things specifically happened to you during that day. And so I'm not talking about things that are with you, yani don't write that like the general things. No, write, for example, specifically that day, good 3 things that happened with you, like, oh, I was able today to calm my child down without, for example, I don't know, having a big fight. I was able to finish 80% of my to-do list, or oh, I was able today to go to my friends and really have good time with them, and I haven't done this for a long time. You see, like specific 3 things that happened with you during that day, you write them down in a note before you sleep. That note can really be a saver in the times where our brains are taking us down. So yeah, these kind of things. Exercise, definitely, yes, it's always there. Keep the social connection. A lot of after the pandemic, we passed a lot of cases I see of social anxiety. People who are saying that I changed as a person. I don't like to go out with people now. I like to do much visits now. Try to push yourself to do it gradually. Go on your pace, and inshallah you're gonna reach there. It's gonna happen. And just like the pandemic took time until like it changed our whole lives, also going back, it's gonna take time until you go back. But don't give up on yourself. Don't take that change as a, that's it. This is the new me.
Unless the new me, the new you is fantastic, in which case keep it going.
Yeah, that's a different issue. Yeah.
Well, I am so happy about everything that we have discussed. I really think that we have tackled a lot of great things, and I really hope that we bring great tools for people to take from what the process, but also to understand that it's process. Really, anyone that is watching, recommending that you follow these amazing ladies, and then we can continue the conversation wherever we are.
Thank you so much, ladies, for this fruitful discussion. Thank you so much. It was definitely a discussion that keeps going on forever. I think we cannot, if we cannot just end this talk, it can just keep going. And I think everyone watching and everyone here connects to it strongly. And I personally do, as a parent myself, and specifically as facing the pandemic with a newborn. So I think the crucial part was for us to be sanely well, so that we can take care of our children. And I think that was the most difficult part that we had to do. But leaving it on a more positive side, I think also the pandemic, as hard as it was and as challenging as it was for so many, I think that we came out of it appreciating life more. And I think that it made us like notice all the small blessings that we have in our daily life that we took for granted, or like we didn't even value because we were so busy in life that we didn't see them, or we didn't know how important they were. So again, I want to thank you so much for Anahi for moderating this amazingly, and for our amazing speakers for sharing your knowledge and expertise. And I hope to see you all soon. Take care.
Thank
Amazing.
you.
Thank you for having us.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Hello. Hello. Anahi?
I think it went well. I just wanted to say
Stop the
thank
recording,
you.
please. It was great. It was really good. I really loved it.
Yeah, I think it was really
One
good. I'm
second.
so happy to also to connect with Dr. Sanabel, because I think that I'm gonna be sending her people. I didn't know there was a place here. So yeah. Thank you so much, Neha, and we'll be in touch for